Hello, the San Marino Grand Prix promises to be an outstanding race. Imola is a very fast circuit, lots of corners in which the downforce and the driver's skill will be tested to the absolute limit. But there's one driver here that will be testing himself perhaps more than most, because so far this season he's found himself struggling behind an all-conquering German in the World Championship. Could this be Senna's day for redemption? In the opening race at Brazil, it was only a second between them, but Michael Schumacher took the win to get the season off in a flyer for the Benetton. And then at the Pacific Grand Prix last time out, a transmission failure brought to end Ayrton Senna's race. It meant Michael Schumacher collected maximum points again and extended his lead in the World Championship. And Schumacher has a 10-point advantage at the moment over Damon Hill. Ayrton Senna is joint third at the moment with John Alesi, who does not race here Alesi this weekend. He's been replaced by Nicola Larini. Gerhard Berger and Mika Hakkinen make out the top six. From a constructor standpoint, it is Benetton all the way, Williams chasing them down. Ferrari were able to pick up some vital points last time out. So to take you through qualifying, it's time to hand over to Trevor Walker for this one. Qualifying was very much a case of who can beat Michael Schumacher. He very much was the driver to beat, and despite some heroic efforts from Damon Hill and Gerhard Berger, no one could get close to Michael Schumacher. That was until Ayrton Senna showed us what he could do, putting out an astonishing lap to take pole position, going 0.3 of a second quicker over Michael Schumacher, to the absolute delight here. So the grid here for the San Marino Grand Prix is Senna first, Schumacher second, locking out row 1. Gerhard Berger, very impressive third, with Williams fourth with Damon Hill. Katayama, very impressive fifth. Hakkinen joins him on row 3 in sixth. Frentzen in the Sauber is ahead of JJ Leto that comes in for Jos Verstappen today. Martin Brundle was qualified 9th ahead of Nicola Larini, stepping in for John Alesi. Carl Wendingler in the Sauber is 11th alongside Mark Blundell. Gianni Morbidelli in the football is ahead of Mardini. Christian Fittipaldi is along Michele Arboreto, and Olivier Parnas and the Ligiers line up together 17th and 18th. Johnny Herbert's got the Lotus to 19th today for Eric Comas in the Larus, and Andre de Cesaris and Barrichello make up the last two places as the Jordans struggle this weekend. So, looking at Senna on the right, Schumacher on the left. We wait for the lights, red light is getting set. And it's go! The San Marino Grand Prix is underway. It's a good start by Senna, great start again by Schumacher. Berger's got a brilliant start by Michael Schumacher, who's alongside Ayrton Senna. There they go, round the Tamburello. And it's Senna and Schumacher side by side making the way. Damon Hill, dreadful start. It looks as if Hakkinen's got past him. Damon Hill's down to 5th. Senna, does he have just enough? He's just a car's nose in front. And Schumacher's refusing to yield at the moment. And then they go back up the hill again. This narrow circuit again. And it looks as if Schumacher's been passed there at the moment by Gerhard Berger, who's having a look at Ayrton Senna. Gerhard Berger trying to make a move on Ayrton Senna. But Ayrton Senna leads the San Marino Grand Prix out of Imola. Damon Hill in the back just having a look at Mika Hakkinen. So Senna leads, Berger is second, Michael Schumacher is third. And it was an absolutely fantastic start by Ayrton Senna, who really needs to pull something out of the bag here.
Well, a superb start from Senna. He managed to hold off the young Michael Schumacher, but a tremendous effort from Gerhard Berger, who's being challenged here by Michael. He's got the line, has he? Yes, he's held his line very well. But that Ferrari was an absolute rocket off the start line, and he's managed to sneak past the young German, who probably didn't see that coming.
Yeah, it's Ferrari V12 power against the Benetton Ford V8, and we know about the chassis and the way in which the Benetton itself is able to handle. It's going to be a real factor around Imola, which is a fast circuit, but there are a lot of sweeping corners to go. And Schumacher here trying to have a little look to see if he make his way around Gerhard Berger through the Tamburello, and they both make it through. And look at Schumacher just trying to find a way, but all time this is working out perfectly moment for Ayrton Senna, who's able to put away Damon Hill again, I think in the background having a little sniff at Hakkinen.
cannot get past him, and Schumacher again is sitting right on the gearbox as Hill tries to get past Hakkinen. He can't do so. Hakkinen's closed the door. Great work by Mika Hakkinen in the McLaren Peugeot. Hill here for the Williams, down to 5th, starting in Schumacher, trying to make a move, and then lock up by Berger, and Michael Schumacher is through. Michael Schumacher is through for the Benetton, and now he can start chasing down, and this is how he did it.
Well, you see here, Michael puts his car in a position where Berger has to let him through, and Berger also got his braking zone completely wrong by locking up, so it's a very brave manoeuvre by Michael, who executed it perfectly.
Well, during that escapade between Schumacher and Berger, it's allowed Ayrton Senna to push away. It's been such a difficult start for his life in the Williams Renault. Long is sought after a drive for them as you make their way through into the start-finish in the stadium complex. But for Ayrton Senna here, how he's going to be pleased at the moment that he's got himself away, and on lap 3 he leads. He set the fastest lap at a 1:26.9, and he's got nearly 2.5, nearly 3 second lead on Michael Schumacher. And you think about the start where he was just a second behind Schumacher at in where we were in Brazil, and in Aida sadly he had that transmission failure. But at the moment here, Ayrton Senna's got a gap on Schumacher and is holding it. So looks as if the Williams has found a little bit of the pace that they were lacking to the Benettons at the beginning in the last 2 races.
Well, Ayrton was complaining about the lack of traction that the Williams had compared to the power it put out, and he certainly seemed to make up the deficit with that start, as we're watching his teammates here trying to make his way past the young Finn Mika Hakkinen. He's done extremely well there on the brakes on this one. It's a tricky corner, that one. If you get your braking zone wrong, you're ploughing into the guy to your right and into the barrier in front of you. So he executed that move very well.
So Damon Hill has moved up to 4th, and confirmation that Gerhard Berger is still 3rd. Ayrton Senna leads in the Williams Renault. He is in the lead. Michael Schumacher in the Benetton is 2nd. Ayrton Senna only has the 1 second place finish this season, and the DNF, so he's 3rd at the moment. And a lovely sweeping right and left before you break it down the gears into 2nd gear, drop down to 1st, onto the start finish straight, pull away. And this was the really quick part of the circuit. And the San Marino Grand Prix at Imola, this track itself is different. It's quite narrow compared to some of the other circuits we'll go to. It's probably not as narrow as the next circuit we'll go to, because we're off after this to Monaco, but in this one it's a narrow circuit, so overtaking is difficult. It's fast, you're going to go uphill and downhill. There are some really tricky sort of chicanes to enter through, and you really do have to be on the money in this race.
You do indeed. The cars really have to be on the money as well. Aerodynamically, the tyres have got to be well behaved, and the engines of course have got to deal with the immense amount of torque going through the engines at a pretty constant rate on this track. The amount of straights it's got, it's very high speed, as you mentioned earlier, which you would think would suit the V12 powered Ferraris, but the little V8 in this Benetton appears to have quite the punch.
Well, the V8, some have said. I was talking recently to Ross Braun, technical director of Benetton, who said at the moment that the V8's like the little underdog, the little sort of terrier engine that just refuses to give up. And it just goes to show you, while the power might not be there, and there is talk potentially of Benetton maybe changing manufacturers for next season, but the one thing in it they do have at the moment is an aerodynamic package, which just seems to have had the march on the Williams for the first couple of races. But here it looks as if Williams, in particular Ayrton Senna, have just found a little bit more pace, because I'm looking at the gap at the moment, and it's still 2.5 seconds. And at the moment here, Senna is able to maintain that gap on Michael Schumacher.
He's doing a very good job at maintaining it, and the strides that the Williams car has made in the first 2 races, I guess. This is number 3, but Adrian Newey has been making plenty of tweaks, and Senna has had plenty of complaints. Obviously, they lost all the electronic aids from last year, which made it look so easy for Prost. So and of course Nigel Mansell, let's not forget him. It was a dominant car last time before all those aids were taken away, so it's a much more challenging car to drive this year.
Yeah, this year's car, the FW16. Of course, the 14B, which Nigel Mansell was world champion in 2 years ago, and the FW15, which Alain Prost was world champion in. And there's got to be a little bit of Ayrton Senna with his great rivalry that he does have with Alain Prost, and the two of them have shaken hands and very much water under the bridge, bearing in mind now Alain Prost has retired, and there will be a little bit of Ayrton Senna that will still be competitive and still wants to go ahead and show that he can win a 4th world championship, perhaps in not as dominant as Williams, which would be a testament to him, and testament to the skill of Gerhard Berger, who does have a quicker Williams behind him. But Gerhard Berger, he's got 10 years of racecraft. Damon Hill, this is only his 2nd full season in Formula 1, and he's all over the back of Gerhard Berger, but at the moment the Austrian's showing the skill to hold off the Englishman.
He's just positioning his car in the perfect place, just making it the track ever so narrower by just putting his car in the right place at the right time. Just not quite leaving enough room for a car to go out the inside or the outside, but it's difficult to do that on a long straight and a bit of a sweeper as well. Damon's buzzing all over the back of him, but again Berger just positioning the car perfectly.
Into first gear, clip both curves and then power away. Up the hill now, this right-hander. Cars are going to pick themselves up to some serious speed along here. And looking at Damon Hill, is pulling away from Mika Hakkinen. Does he fancy a move? And he clipped him! Oh, Damon Hill is off! And so is Berger. They're both out. Well, Damon's going again, and Berger's going again. And what happened there? Damon Hill has taken a hit. There goes Hakkinen. There goes Blue. I think that's Blundell. That looks like the Sauber. It's also through. And there goes Brundle. That's Mark Blundell again that's through. And Damon here. Oh, disaster there, and trying to get past Gerhard Berger. And he's come off the worst. He's come off the circuit. Berger's still going. What on earth happened here?
Well, they just got their braking zones all wrong, didn't they? You saw Berger get his braking zone wrong earlier when Schumacher was coming past him. And, well, it looked like it happened again a bit there with Damon Hill and Berger getting their wires crossed. Berger somehow getting off a little bit lighter than Damon, although my concern for the Ferrari would be, is there any suspension damage? He bounced over those curbs quite violently. I'm amazed he's still got all 4 wheels attached to the car. Damon patiently waited to rejoin the track as well, but Berger, the damage not quite as bad as it's been to Damon's race.
Well, this was the key moment in which Damon Hill was dropped himself all the way down out of the top 10, been trying to pass Gerhard Berger. Thankfully no damage to both cars, at least on the inspection. Looks as if there's no damage to the wishbones, but look at the braking there. That, I mean, as Gerhard Berger joined, look at Mika Hakkinen with that sort of late braking and able to avoid him. I think we need to go and commend Mika Hakkinen for that, as Benetton, teammate of Michael Schumacher, Yari Yetfilo here, is just who stepped in for Jos Verstappen, who has been hurt, just trying to make a move, and that's again the Ford engine just having more power than the Peugeot engine. Also, the Honda have pulled out of Formula 1. McLaren and that great partnership that they have with Honda, so all those world championships that they won over a dominant period, 4 in a row. And then you look back to what Honda and Williams did before that, the Constructors' Championship and the Drivers' Championship in the previous year. But Honda have left, and the McLaren are looking to get go with the Peugeot engine, and Ron Dennis has said that the Peugeot engine potentially could be get better in the future, and they're working with them. There's been talk potentially of Mercedes-Benz coming in next season for McLaren. It's a rumour, but there's no denying the rumour at the moment that Ayrton Senna is leading the San Marino Grand Prix in Imola. His lead now over Michael Schumacher is 3.7 seconds. And we've got to now sort of talk about pit strategy, about how you're going to use these tyres. And Senna here going first. Does he control the pit strategy in this situation?
Well, you would say he has the call. It's if Michael Schumacher decides to try and attempt an undercut by going early. Maybe he tries to sort of use the opportunity to, whilst they're both in clear air, the gap between Schumacher and third place is rather large in itself, so they've both kind of got their own little windows that they can both call a bluff on. And Ayrton really, he has the stronger hand because he can either dictate it or he can react to it, whereas Michael has to kind of gamble as such if he wants to go first, or he can just mirror Senna, which is a safe option as well. So it really is who wants to take the gamble, who wants to dictate the pace, and we will really see here who has the bottle to make the first move. It's like a very high speed game of chess.
Well, those that are asking about the undercut, I know with Trevor's great experience, it's when you pit before your opponent, the person you're chasing, and you go back out on fresh rubber. With that fresh rubber, the car can go faster, and it looks like Yarlevlo's out, that smoke pouring out of the Benetton, so Benetton are down to just one car. It looks like that's a blown engine.
Yeah, that's engine certainly let go. Hopefully Michael won't have a similar problem. Hopefully the sister car won't behave the same, otherwise it would rob us again of a battle between these two.
Let's hope we don't see it in the future, as remaining at the moment is just causing Damon some problems, and Damon Hill very aggressive, pushes his way through, and Damon Hill continues to move up. Got a much faster car, but a lot of work to do to get back in this. His teammate, on the other hand, 3 times world champion Ayrton Senna, has got his lead over Michael Schumacher to over 4 seconds now.
He's really dictating the pace, isn't he? He knows the pit window's coming up, so now is the time to push, and Ayrton certainly knows how to find the limit.
Well, we can see Ayrton Senna really is motoring at the moment, and I think the call might be in at the moment from his pit crew that it is time potentially to make a pit stop soon, so he's starting to put in some really quick laps at the moment, and they've got, oh, he's got the Senna's spun off. Ayrton Senna is spun off. There goes Schumacher is through. Senna, he's still going, he's got the car back going again, but Ayrton Senna has spun off on Michael Schumacher, who's coming to the pit. So Schumacher hasn't changed his strategy, didn't know, and this is Schumacher's pit stop, but Ayrton Senna has spun out, and that's going to give Schumacher a real advantage. We're looking at the pit time at the moment. It's a long stop. They've got a lot of fuel in that Benetton, so he's running quite a short stint before Schumacher's moving away as Geoff comes into the pits. But, oh, Ayrton Senna spun, and that could be disastrous.
Well, that's certainly throwing the cat amongst the pigeons, hasn't it? Michael essentially sort of taking the lead, immediately pitting to sort of dictate who's got to pit. So now Ayrton probably has to respond by pitting immediately. Let's see what happened with the spin.
Let's have a look at Senna here, and he looks like he gets his braking points wrong. When he does, he goes over into the grass. Thankfully, there is no damage on that tyre wall. Sometimes you can sort of tear your sort of rear wishbones and the tyres out, but Senna has stayed on. But bit of luck for Senna not to be out of it, but my heavens as well. Ayrton Senna, as we're watching Damon Hill try to force his way past Marc Blondel in the Tyrrell Yamaha, and you would think the Williams V10 has too much power for the Yamaha, and then we can see there he does, but not quite the skill level to get past Blondel. But Ayrton Senna at the moment must be absolutely kicking himself. He doesn't make many mistakes, Ayrton, but that was a mistake.
Well, we did say about him pushing and finding the limits of those tyres before he has to come in for a pit stop, and he just pushed a little too much. Although obviously both Damon and Ayrton have had a bit of a spin off the circuit on this track, it's still showing that the Williams does have its weak points. It's not the most aerodynamically stable car, so both drivers just suffering a little bit in that regard, whereas Michael has kept it very much under control, although his teammates of course lost control of his engine blowing up. So swings and roundabouts for both teams.
And now it is Michael Schumacher who effectively is leading, albeit at the moment that Ayrton Senna is. He has to pit. This is Ayrton Senna. We're watching him now, and I would expect him to look to pit in the next 2 or 3 laps if he spun off down to his tyres being too warm, and you can see there visibly a lot slower through to the main section, and Ayrton Senna is coming into the pits.
Well, this is the key moment, isn't it? He's going to get rid of those dirty tyres as well. I dare say they've probably got a fair bit of mud and grass on them, which isn't going to help his grip. 6.1 seconds for Schumacher, nearly a whole second quicker for Ayrton, so that's, his team have bailed him out a little bit there with a quicker pit stop than Schumacher, but where does he come out?
So Senna comes out, going past me, and I can see into the future. Has Senna got it? No, Schumacher is ahead, so Schumacher has got ahead of Ayrton Senna. There's Schumacher, there's Senna, through the Tamburello goes Ayrton Senna, and now once again we're back where we were in Brazil at the moment, because Ayrton Senna now has to try and chase down Michael Schumacher. It's not a scenario he's particularly happy about. He's got a huge advantage at the moment of the current fourth place man. That's Damon Hill, who has yet to pit, and I'm looking at the track, and it looks like it's potentially starting to rain out there. There refuse to be a few droplets of rain available, and
I was just about to say, Trevor, am I seeing rain? And Berger! Oh, well, he's clearly found the wet patch and has decided to beach it in the gravel trap. That's a shame, really. He was having an excellent race.
Let's have a look. You can see the rain just starting to come down, and look at Berger as he comes in, and well, it looks to me as if it looks as it sounded as if the engine just cut out of him. Was there any damage when Damon Hill went into to the back of him? Does that force him off?
Potentially. It was very strange. He was on the outside there struggling to steer, and then it's just gone off. So maybe there's a terminal problem there. Senna getting past a back marker with no questions asked. But if the rain is going to keep up, that adds another section of pit strategy in. Do you stay out on slicks, or do you pit for wet tyres? It's probably too dry for wets, so it's now going to be a matter of car control as Damon's now in the pits.
Damon Hill comes in, you can see there he gets his visor wiped off, just starting to pick up a bit of spray. 5.8 seconds, so it was another good stop for the Williams Renault team. Based on shit, McLaren of Hakkinen goes past as well. There goes Katayama, there goes the Sauber of Carl Venninger is also past. So in the race at the moment, confirmation Jarvo and Gerhard Berger is out. Michael Schumacher the leads, but Ayrton Senna's on the attack. He's taken 0.3 of the second out on Michael Schumacher, and if anybody here can pull a miracle out in the rain, it's going to be Ayrton Senna. But from what we know in Formula 3000 and his days sort of racing in Germany, particularly in the Sauber performance team, young Michael Schumacher is no damn hand in the wet.
No, he isn't. He's certainly well acclimatised to mixed conditions, but then so is Ayrton. Need I say more? Donington is a perfect example of car control in tricky conditions. So this really is going to be a true test of who can master the tricky conditions and be one with their car.
Ayrton Senna getting past Eric Komas and lapping him quite easily at the moment, and now the back markers are going to be a problem for all involved. So from this standpoint, and the Williams will have to sort of be mindful of this situation, but you've got back markers to get through. If Schumacher is held up, that's going to buy Senna some time. We saw a similar scenario down in Brazil, but on that occasion Schumacher held on to win by about a second. Very close race, and some have said if that race had gone 2 or 3 laps more, we might well have had a real opportunity for Senna to make his way past, but it's not been the case at the moment. And Senna well ahead of Mika Hakkinen, who is in 3rd place in the McLaren, and Senna at the moment chasing down the Ligier. And you've got to think to yourself what Senna must be thinking to himself. Does he go ahead and think about that mistake and think, what if I just held it together? Do you know what, they might have been able to be winning my race and getting my season back on track. As things stand, he's almost sort of mildly effectively handed the advantage back to Schumacher, that mistake. But you've got to think to himself, what is he going to be thinking? You know, how mentally tough is Ayrton Senna at the moment? Because he's got to put that mistake to the back of his mind.
He's probably already forgotten about it, but he's still using the aggression of the mistake to hammer out this massive pace advantage that he was showing at the start of the race. The tricky conditions adding to a fascinating encounter that we've got ahead of us. He knows the back markers have got to be negotiated by Michael as well, whilst he also seems to be catching the back markers in positions where he can catch the slipstream, so it's all working in his favour. and he is driving like a man possessed, if you will. He's very much got the bit between his teeth, and his team have certainly done really well with the pit stops. He's been extremely aggressive, attacking the curbs in tricky conditions. He is well and truly going for it.
So Ayrton Senna passes Pierluigi Martini in the Minardi Ford, and is now making his way forward. And Michael Schumacher now got the Ligier ahead of him to chase down, and we shall wait and see if Schumacher has any problems. I doubt it, looking at the way in which Schumacher is able to race at the moment past the French side, and they're just forced to sort of brake and get out of the way of Michael Schumacher. But when you're racing for the lead and there's somebody beside you, you've just got to get out of the way.
Yes, but you can see that Ayrton's come up behind him as we're on this long straight bit, so he's just going to get a massive tow up this long straight bit and really stretch that Renault V10 to catch up. You can see he's blitzed by him, and the gap is getting smaller each lap. The way the traffic is falling, it's very much hindering Michael, and it's very much helping Ayrton.
Well, it's 2.3 seconds now. It was 4 seconds, the gap not long ago, and now it'll be starting to look a little more than a speck, than a little nuisance in his mirrors, Michael Schumacher, because Ayrton Senna is continuing to put the pressure on. But the one thing this young German has shown us is Damon Hill.
That's Hill, and was it a McLaren? It was. Is that Brundle?
It's Martin Brundle.
Is the two Brits have collided, and I think Carl Wendlinger well and truly punted a tyre down the pit lane as an aftermath. So Brundle's dropped it, and he's come across the track like a loony. He should have really stayed off the track and braked and just waited his turn to come back on, and he's caused a horrific accident. And you can see that tyre there, just untethered, bouncing in the track. I think the Sauber ends up picking it up. You can see here, Damon, he's got the line, he's controlled it well, and Brundle, he's just, well, I don't know why he was. I know he was sort of out of control of the car there, but you should be anchoring on the brakes there. That was questionable decision making there from Martin. And the fact that he's driven the car back towards the track again, he should have just put it in the pits, get it out of the way.
Well, we saw there the McLaren of Martin Brundle's being pushed away as the battle for the lead continues. That's pushed Damon Hill out of the points now for the Williams, and he's made down to 8th result. That was Carl Wendlinger that got through with a lovely header on the tyre to make it away. And now the challenge is on as we're watching the chasers. Gianni Morbidelli at the moment has Michael Schumacher sitting right behind him, and Schumacher looking to make his move. And Rubens Barrichello at the moment, he also has Ayrton Senna in the Williams, past the Jordan Hart, and now Morbidelli also has Ayrton Senna, and Morbidelli just wisely moves out the way, doesn't want to get too much of an issue, be too much of a problem, and you can understand that with all that's going on at the moment. Senna is starting to put the hammer down, and now it's clear track and Michael Schumacher ahead. It's just a case of what we had at the previous Grand Prix. Is it going to be enough time left in the race? Bearing in mind we do have a damp track, but it's never got wet enough that they've needed to change tyres. In the meantime, it has got wet enough to cause some real chaos on the track. Question is now, can Senna be able to catch and pass Schumacher? And if I've said it before, I'll certainly say it again. Catching somebody is one thing, but passing them is a completely different thing.
It is indeed, and Michael will definitely use all the tricks in the trade to keep Ayrton behind. It's getting very, very close, and he's probably going to start picking up the tow now that they're this close together. So I would expect that gap to come down more and more. It's more a case of, does Ayrton Senna have enough laps left to get past?
We are on lap 18 of a scheduled 20-lap race at Imola for the San Marino Grand Prix. You're looking at the cars that were first and second on the grids, except the races turned out differently. Ayrton Senna's spin has handed the advantage to Michael Schumacher, who leads, who's, as things stands, on course to win his 3rd race of the season. And Ayrton Senna is on course for his second place finish of the season. you've got to feel the frustration at the moment between the two. 1.1 seconds now. Senna really is flying, and he definitely is picking up a huge toe. So from a slipstream standpoint, Ayrton Senna is able to get a few more mile-an-hours more on these long sweeping straights, because cutting through the air ahead of him is Michael Schumacher. That is giving the advantage. Also, you've got Williams V10 versus Ford V8. Really is France versus the USA, from two cars that are very much built in the Midlands in England. You've got the Benetton side and the Oxfordshire sides. Benetton, of course, based themselves in Brackley. Now, let's come through 1.053 seconds. Ed Senna's getting the gap to lap 19. So we're looking at this lap and then the next lap following, and this could be the end here of the San Marino Grand Prix. And Ayrton Senna has somehow got to pull a rabbit out of the hat, because I don't think there is enough laps left for Senna to catch Schumacher and pass him.
Well, I would say it's going to come down to a mistake, but that mistake might have been made earlier by Ayrton, but you never know. Anything's possible in Formula 1. The track could change condition-wise, the tyres could go, somebody could have an accident in front, we really don't know.
Well, Ayrton Senna knows that he's been so sort of frustrated, particularly with the transmission failure at Aida at the Pacific Grand Prix. Really was something that very much irritated Ayrton, as they're struggling to get to grips with this Williams FW16. Confirmation, 2 laps remaining of this San Marino Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher leads, Ayrton Senna is second. I'm looking at the timing boards, and Schumacher at the moment is starting to really put some quick laps in. But I think Schumacher's responded, because he's just gone quickest in the second sector. Now into the third sector. Final chance around the right-hander, and they go and power away. And we will now make our way through to the final lap, but one of the Grand Prix. Senna trying to the final lap, as I should say, the final lap of the Grand Prix, and Schumacher knows all he's got to do now is just keep Ayrton Senna in his mirrors, and he's won the race.
It's nervy ends. I'm sure the heart rate is up and up for both drivers here, but Michael very much, I think he's got just about enough to keep himself in front here. I think once again we're just not quite got enough laps to have that battle we were all hoping for. But even so, excellent drive from Senna to recover from his spin. He'll just be kicking himself from having a spin in the first place.
In the course of the race, Senna had a 4-second lead over Michael Schumacher. He's brought it down, from nearly 5 seconds of this. So Senna at the moment definitely has real pace, but he's made one mistake, and Michael Schumacher has driven a faultless race. He has made no mistakes today. This brilliant driver. He's got such a different attitude. He's got a different sort of fitness regime to everybody else in terms of keeping himself mentally sharp, and it's proved to be the factor today, because to finish first you have to finish no more so than Michael Schumacher, who comes through to take the win at Imola. Michael Schumacher, it's a hat-trick of victories to start the season. He's got the better of the master. Schumacher shows everybody just how to do it with a brilliant drive.
Cracking effort from Michael Schumacher again. Maximum points after 3 rounds. His lead gets bigger and bigger over Ayrton Senna, that jumps into second place. Damon Hill be disappointed he didn't score any points this weekend. In the constructors, it is Benetton the leader ahead of Williams. McLaren had their best weekend, climbing right one behind Ferrari. Tyrrell and Sauber enter the mix. Well, can anyone stop Michael Schumacher? Well, we'll find out in the next round when we go to Monaco. You can see that race live, a part of Sunday Grandstand on BBC Television. If you've enjoyed this race here on Trevor Sports, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Formula 1 action here on the channel. Let us know what your thoughts are on the video, and we look forward to seeing you again for more Grand Prix action.